Summary of Donald Trump's speech in Las Vegas the day before the historic election of Bernie Sanders taking Nevada. So this is the dignified presidential Gettysburg Address-like quality Las Vegas speech of Donald Trump. I want to see in terms of what kind of person is he, what kind of person is he going to be when he runs for office? Has he changed? Has he evolved? Has he got better? And no, this entire speech, whereas Bernie Sanders just hits policy point after policy point, Donald is all over the place, and he's a comedian. He has to have a joke, and he keeps, insulting Democrats after everything that he says. And, first he goes, he's giving a rally February 21st, 2020 on Friday, the day before the Nevada caucus. And so this is Donald Trump getting in right before, he keeps on doing these speeches right beforehand. I saw him saying something about how his voice, he's got power by having a voice, and so he's going to use his voice. I don't know. I've totally ignored even, watching him or listening to what he says, but he is the president, so just to get a bird's eye view of his mind. So, he starts off and he says, well, there's going to be problems in Nevada, right? Says that Democrats can't count votes. And then he says, well, look what happened in Iowa, right? They'll never know. Are we getting close to the results in Iowa? We'll never know. So he's making fun of the Iowa debacle, the Iowa shit show. Predicted that Nevada would have been a shit show, too. Don then called the Democrats the socialist Democrats, when there's only one socialist in the race. Liz is a capitalist to her bones, and she's the most progressive one on stage, next to Bernie. And so if the most progressive one is a capitalist to her bones, then Joe and Bloomberg and Klobuchar, they're all capitalists to their bones as well. They have a problem with Bernie being the top of the ticket. There wasn't no socialist at the top of the ticket. Doesn't matter. Don's going to call you a bunch of socialist Democrats, whether you pick Bernie or not. So really, the United States needs free college. We need Bernie care when it comes to, or Bernie education, just so Don can figure out the difference between democratic socialism and American batshit fascism. Donald goes on to brag about getting the Olympics to Los Angeles. 2028 Olympics is coming to L.A., California. But Donald said he isn't going to get any thanks for it or any credit, but he says that's okay. Well, how humble. Tulsi isn't an agent of Russia, but he's saying, look what they're doing with this whole Russia thing. They said Democrats or Hillary's trying to start a rumor, spreading disinformation about Tulsi. And wouldn't Putin rather have Bernie, since Bernie had honeymooned in Moscow, right? I like what we're doing, and I love this country. Cheers! Right? So he's sitting there saying, they're trying to say that, we're a bunch of Russian puppets, but I like what we're doing, and I love this country. To date, Donald had done the single best day he's ever done at the polls. Apparently by Wisconsin, a poll came out showing him leading by many points. And then he goes, Mini Mike, he's on a box, but he choked. He couldn't breathe. Pocahontas was screaming at him. And, something about saying, she forgot she lied about her own heritage because she had high cheekbones. And then he said something about, I can't breathe, which is the same thing Eric Garner had said. So, she already did the Pocahontas thing, so she has some Native American blood in here, so, he's still going with that line of attack. You won! Somebody in the crowd said when he was talking about the debate, you won the debate! And then he was, happy about that, and then he was like, and then look at these fake news people, and then there were boos, right? He pointed out MSDNC, pretty clever, right? MSNBC, MSDNC, and says that MSNBC is owned by Comcast, and he goes on and says that Comcast is a terrible company. They need to keep the image nice and clean, but really they have disgusting TV. You can say whatever you want to say. They're dishonest, terrible people who are running Comcast. He said that The Apprentice was on for 14 seasons, for 14 years, and they would all kiss Donald Trump's ass whenever they came to his office. Comcast, he said Jeff Zucker is the one that signed Don. So I don't know if Jeff Zucker is the one that he's got a problem with specifically. But NBC, he says, also owned by Comcast. NBC, MSNBC, Comcast. Hey, he also bragged about having the #1 show on television. The final episode was one of the biggest shows ever. Don said that the media wouldn't even cover him if he was on the Titanic when it sunk, which is massive self-pity, and it's an inaccurate analysis. Elizabeth Warren, he says that she's mean, she's got nervous energy. Did you see that face when he was talking about those NDAs to Mike Bloomberg? Just mean, nervous energy, right? Donald was squatting down under the podium, pretending to be a very short Mike Bloomberg. Oh, I'm little Mike. He said something about Pete Buttigieg, who comes from Mad Magazine, this Alfred E. Newman, right? So just a roast, just roasting the Democrats, and then says, oh, that's old. Maybe 15% of the population know about that. How about Howdy Doody? The Mad Magazine is still around, so to assume that people don't know Alfred E. Newman's kind of crazy. But Howdy Doody, that was the reference that he was going to say, well, if you don't know Alfred E. Newman, what about Howdy Doody? He points out that Pete Buttigieg's town that he mayored over, South Bend, Indiana, has got a bunch of problems. He did say either he's the best debater up there, Pete is, or Don is. But he says that Bernie is too emotional, Biden is angry. And then he's, Bernie's speech, when he talks, he's got facts and figures and data points and statistics. He's got math. He's concerned about the working class. He's got policy point after policy point. Meanwhile, Donald Trump goes on and says, Tom Steyer got 1% in Iowa. And then Don reminds us at the debate when Tom Steyer had said hi to Bernie. Did you see Tom when he said hi to Bernie when they were arguing? Ivanka has created 15 million jobs. I mean, Jesus, can you imagine Joe Biden's sons doing any of this work? So 15 million jobs, where does that number even come from? How did Ivanka create 15 million jobs? And then he brags about how he killed ISIS. 100% of ISIS is gone. I heard there's still some in Syria, but killed al-Baghdadi, killed Soleimani, the father of the roadside bomb. Even Iran leaders hated him. America is respected again. It's not a party, it's a movement. Join the Republican Party. We're very unified. Follow your Fuhrer. On the stage, or near the stage, was Sheldon Anderson. Don was talking about how Sheldon Anderson is very rich. Sheldon Anderson could get things done, just pick up a phone, and how much Sheldon Anderson loves Israel. Then he brags about how America has the lowest unemployment rate for blacks and Hispanic, and then he shouts, I love Hispanic, and then says something about Asians, women. So unemployment's going up for, basically everybody, but I love Hispanic. I love the Hispanic people. I love Hispanics, but I love Hispanic. That he's not even saying it right. And then he says President Barack Hussein Obama, right? Still bringing out the Hussein. Jon Stewart makes me think of a Jon Stewart joke where he said it was Barack Hussein Obama was the worst name since Adolf Hitler. And then Donald Trump declares to the Nevada people that he's opposed to nuclear waste being buried underneath the Yucca Mountain. So it seems random and out of nowhere, but maybe that's been something they've had to worry about in the past. Of course, there shouldn't be nuclear waste buried under the Yucca Mountain. And then somebody passed out. Something happened in the crowd. And then Donald just stands at the podium and says, a doctor in the house, medical. And then he says, thank you, take your time, as if he's, Bernie Sanders. Wow, so compassionate. Just like Bernie Sanders. Not really. Hey, medical. And somebody passed out. He's like, medical. Somebody needs it. Bernie runs over to the person, gives them, water and makes sure they're okay. But Donald just stands at the podium and points, medical. And while he's standing there like an asshole, ordering somebody else to go help the man in, trouble, somebody in the crowd shouts, we love you, Trump. Donald just stands there. Bernie helps to fall on himself. Donald just orders it done and then just, stands around walking in circles on the White House lawn. He dropped his umbrella because he couldn't get it closed in time to get it through the airplane door the moment he got to it. Medical. Someone needs to close this Umbrella Medical. Somebody needs to show me where I'm supposed to go off the White House lawn. Don tells us that his son Barron could have formed Obamacare website much better, did a better job than Obama. They spent $5 billion on the website. Remember that website? And then Donald Trump says that Obamacare was terrible health care. I mean, it's subsidized private health care, so terrible health care. Then he says we're going to have brand new pre-existing brand new pre-existing. You know, you think you had some old pre-existing conditions, now you got some brand new pre-existing. Apparently he's supposed to defend pre-existing, but he's coming after Obamacare. Pre-existing conditions was a staple of Obamacare, but he's trying to make the argument he's getting rid of Obamacare because he got rid of the individual mandate, but the pre-existing condition, insurance companies can't kick you off if you have pre-existing conditions, but that's not the law of the land. So he's lying. He's straight up lying, saying that we're going to have, you know, make sure pre-existing conditions are respected because he's undoing Obamacare. So he's just trying to keep some of the elements of Obamacare and pretend like he's the one that thought of it. Obamacare is a right-wing Republican idea. Now, this is a good idea. Price transparency in hospitals. He says that if you go to a hospital, they won't even tell you how much things cost. They'll even get mad at you about it. This is a great idea. So that way, just like, you know, Taco Bell, they have all the services and prices right there in front of you. But, you know, they're doctors and nurses. They're going to, you know, whatever, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do. So by having a menu, by having prices listed for each hospital, then we can compare and contrast. Now, that would work for bigger cities where you have competition. In the rural areas where you only have one clinic, not such a good idea, but they should tell you the prices of things. They don't tell you the price of shit. And they'll just say, oh, you need a CAT scan, and you need to do some more stuff. You need to do the most expensive stuff ever, but it's just a headache. I don't care. Then at the very end, he points out to the cameras and says, those are fake news right there. That's fake news. How, is it, are those cameras not recording him correctly? What is fake news about those cameras? So overall, I think Bernie, you know, is going to probably get the Democratic nomination and then probably beat Donald. But I was reading the history of McGovern, and 49 states voted for Nixon over McGovern. We had a bright, shining moment in this country. We could have elected a progressive liberal. We haven't had a progressive liberal since Nixon or LBJ. And so this was George McGovern, who was up and coming. And America voted 49 states in the U.S. voted for Nixon over McGovern. And I read that it was because of a booming economy, and Nixon was very popular. So Nixon's very popular, and he had a booming economy. So this is, you know, makes me nervous that maybe it won't be as easy. It won't be as easy of a cakewalk as I thought it was going to be. So I just want to go over his policy points. What policies did Donald Trump actually talk about that he's actually going to do? The anti-pre-existing, yeah, Donald care. We really need Donald health care. So he's going to talk about the economy. He's going to brag about the lowest unemployment rate. So all you got to do to counter that is just point out the drop in the stock markets and the GDP, and then look at the biggest arguments against the economy is just poverty. There's homeless and poverty all over the place. And so you got to make the case that, you know, there's poverty, there's poor people out here. So as much as you want to say there's low unemployment rate, the unemployment rate, there's a lot of problems with the unemployment rate, not actually counting every single person that's unemployed. And so I love Hispanic. So he's going to brag about the economy. And is the economy booming? It's booming for some people, but it's not booming for all people. And that's sort of the, you know, a product of capitalism. I'm doing good. Fuck you and fuck your life. So he's going to talk about the economy, so that means the Democrats will have to make a strong argument, put some dents in it. Either, you know, it's not as strong as it's supposed to be, or maybe it's just weak and it sucks. For poor people, it absolutely is weak, and it does suck. So he bragged about the 2028 Olympics coming to Los Angeles, California. So he's going to, you know, brag about that. His anti-Russia gate, therefore he's anti-neo-Cold War rhetoric. These are good things. They use that Cold War rhetoric to go after progressives, and he's been standing up to that Russiagate bullshit. So, yeah, we're not in the 80s anymore, so that's good. What Donald Trump did in North Korea was very good. He pulled out of Syria. These are all good things. So he is making the world safer when it comes to North Korea, when it comes to Syria. Now, when it comes to some other nations, I'm not, so sure, but he can brag about these. These are bragging points. He's also going to continue to insult the corporate media, most especially MSNBC, and the owners of Comcast, who he just hates the people themselves. He's going to brag about how he killed all of ISIS. 100% of ISIS is killed. I heard there's still some, but he killed al-Baghdadi. He killed Soleimani. And America is respected again. So he's all about, murder, 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 kill, kill, kill. So he's going to brag about his war record. He's going to brag about the economy, brag about the Olympics. He's going to brag about beating the Russiagate bullshit. He's going to shit all over the corporate media. He's going to he should point to his North Korea good works even more so, because you would think that would be a liberal thing, but they're all walking away from diplomacy. None of them are going to do any diplomacy when it comes to North Korea, and he's opposed to nuclear waste being buried underneath the Yucca Mountain, and he's for price transparency in hospitals and having a menu of all the prices that hospitals have to offer. So that's what we can expect. He's not going to be any dignified. He's going to continue to be an asshole. He can't be anything else but who he is, right? So he's going to continue being a lying prick, a lying asshole, continuing to spat off at the mouth at any and everything, continuing to be an insulting, undignified, low-life, piece of shit. So, but all those things, whether a person is an asshole or not, if they're your asshole, if they're an asshole that's in government fighting on your behalf and on the issues you believe in, then that's okay. So being an asshole by itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. If anything, it shows that, he's a fighter. He's going to throw a bunch of attacks on that person and anybody and everybody. So, wow, he's so strong. But he's just a bully. He is just a bully, and that's all he is doing. And maybe because he's, been bullied all his life or something. I don't know. I'm not going to do no Psych 101 on the guy. But he's going to brag about a booming economy. He's going to brag about his war crimes. He's going to, keep on shitting on the corporate media, keep on talking about how that Russiagate narrative is bullshit. So there's some good elements here. There's good elements there. I like those things. His North Korea, Syria policy I like. And so, but his Venezuela, Bolivia policy I can't stand. Right, so there's a counter for each and every one of these, but he's going to brag about a booming economy, even though there was low unemployment numbers under Obama and Bush. It's always, I don't know what's the highest unemployment the rate has been in the last 20 years. Maybe it got to 10% one time, but in poor areas in Appalachia, 25% are unemployed there. So that's Great Depression levels. So this is all the stuff that he's going to throw. He's not going to be any more dignified. He's not going to, try to clean. He's not going to be presidential. So he's going to continue being a shitty-ass dirtbag. And then when it comes to the policies that he's pushing, great economy, winning the wars, the media sucks, and I'm doing all this good stuff with the Olympics and North Korea and Syria, but they keep coming at me with this Russiagate shit, and I don't like it. And then, no nuclear waste under the Yucca Mountain, which I bet he was like, as soon as he said it, he's probably like, you know what, though? Hiding nuclear waste under a mountain, who does that affect? That don't hurt nobody. And then the price transparency in hospitals, he's just saying medical stuff to try to undercut the universal health care efforts. They should have had price transparency in hospitals a long time ago, but without the threat, without the specter of universal health care, they would have never have talked about how the health care system should have been improved. So, yeah, he hasn't learned his lesson. He's not presidential. He's not dignified. He's embarrassing. He embarrasses the office of the presidency. He's only appealed to his own base, so maybe he'll try to appeal to more people in the general election. Maybe there's a pivot, but he doesn't believe in pivoting, so he is who he is, right? So, but he's a liar, so who the fuck is it? Who the fuck is it? 15,000 lies? 15,000 lies. So anyways, that's my summary of Donald Trump at the Las Vegas, his speech, February 21st, 2020, the day before the historic Nevada caucuses that Bernie Sanders won by 27 points in a crowded field of 7 or 8. And didn't just smash everybody, he would smash them all to pieces. So hell yeah, Bernie Sanders. Vote for Bernie, America. Vote for Bernie.